What if one of the biggest reasons you are not living your authentic self is because you are still waiting for permission? Permission to be yourself. Permission to pursue your dreams. Permission to say what you really think and mean it. Permission to disappoint people. Permission to choose a different path and own it. Permission to grow. Welcome back to Unmask with Ladon. In the last episode, I shared the mask I have been wearing myself, and that is the mask of strength. The mask that said, I always had to have it together. But today, I want to go deeper because every mask has a reason. And when I started asking myself why I wore mine, I discovered something uncomfortable. A lot of my decisions were influenced by one thing, which is approval, not conviction, but approval. Now, before you think, oh, this episode is not for me, let me keep scrolling or let me skip. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever changed your opinion because you were worried about what people would think? Have you ever stayed silent when you wanted to speak? Have you ever remained in a situation way longer than you should have because you didn't want to disappoint anyone? Have you ever felt nervous about starting something because people might judge you? If your answer is yes, then you are welcome. You are human, and so I am. So I'll tell you what, for a long time, I didn't think I struggled with approval. I thought approval seeking looked obvious. I thought it looked like constantly asking people what they thought or desperately trying to fit in. That wasn't me. At least, that's what I told myself. But one thing I realize is approval can be subtle. Sometimes approval doesn't look like trying to be liked. Sometimes approval looks like trying not to be rejected. And that was me. Yes, me. I wasn't always chasing the applause, but I was trying to avoid criticism. I was trying to avoid looking foolish. I was trying to avoid looking like I failed publicly. I was trying to avoid disappointing people. And when you live that way long enough, something dangerous happens. You stop asking, what do I really believe? And start asking, what will people think? So all of your actions will revolve around what will people think. I remember periods in my life when I was constantly evaluating myself through other people's eyes. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story. I had a relationship then where all of my decisions stems from what this person will think. It was not what I really wanted or what I truly believed, but it was just more about what would this person think of me if I make this decision? Would they approve? Would they understand? Would they support the decision? Would they think I am qualified enough to make this decision? Would they even think I am making a mistake? All of my thoughts were not mine, or they were not solely what I believed. I just thought about what they would think about me or the decisions I was making. And the exhausting thing about living this way is that there is no finish line. It never comes to an end. Because no matter what you do, someone will approve and someone won't. Someone will understand and others won't. Someone will support you and so many others won't. So if your life is built around approval, you will spend your entire life chasing something you can never fully secure. I have seen it show up in my business journey. I have seen it show up in my personal brand building journey. I have seen it show up in my content sometimes. And sometimes I wanted everything to be perfect before I shared it. Not because perfection was necessary, quote and unquote, but because I wanted to avoid judgment. Even this podcast have been put away for weeks. The idea keeps coming and I keep putting it off like I'm not ready. I don't think I have it figured out. I don't think I know what to say. Just because I wanted to avoid judgment to an extent or what people would say or what people would think. which made me to delay taking actions. Not because I didn't know what to do, but because I was worried about how it will be received. Sometimes I overthought decisions, not because the decisions were complicated, but because I was trying to predict everyone's reaction about the decision. And here is what I have learned. The desire for approval often disguises itself as wisdom. It says, think about it a little longer. Wait until you are more ready. Maybe improve it one more time. Maybe learn a little more first. Just do something more before starting. Meanwhile, months will pass, years will pass, opportunities will pass, not because you aren't capable, but because we are afraid. What I discovered is some of the most important decisions in my life required disappointing someone. Yes, for example, moving countries, changing direction, quitting a relationship, starting several businesses, writing a book, pursuing purpose. Every meaningful step required me to become comfortable with the possibility that not everyone would understand. Realizing that approval is not the same thing as alignment. Just because everyone likes a decision doesn't mean it's the right one. And just because people question a decision doesn't mean it's the wrong one. Now, let me tell you one of the most freeing realizations I have had recently. It is, people are not thinking about me nearly as much as I think they are. Most people are busy worrying about their own lives, their own fears, their own challenges, their own insecurities. The audience we imagine is often much larger than the audience that actually exists. Yet, we give that imaginary audience enormous power over our own choices, power over our dreams, power over our voice, power over our future, power they never even asked for, power we handed to them willingly. So what am I learning? I am learning that authenticity requires courage. Not because authenticity is difficult, but because authenticity sometimes disappoints expectations. When you finally stop performing, some people won't understand you, which is okay. When you start being honest, some people won't relate, which is still okay. When you choose purpose over popularity, some people won't approve, which is still very okay, because the goal was never universal approval. The goal has always been the truth. The goal should always be alignment. The goal should always be becoming who you were created to be and more. So if you're listening today and you've been trapped by approval, I want to leave you with a question. Whose permission are you still waiting for? Who have you given authority over your life that you were never meant to have? And what will change if you stopped asking whether people approved and started asking whether you are aligned? Maybe that's where freedom begins. Not when everyone agrees with you, but when you finally agree with yourself. Thank you so much for joining me today for another episode of Unmask with Ladon. My challenge for you this week is simple. Notice how many decisions you make based on approval. Notice how many times you silence yourself. Notice how many times you shrink yourself. And then ask, what would I do if I wasn't afraid of being misunderstood? I will see you in the next episode. Until then, keep choosing truth over performance and purpose over approval. Toodles.